I get it when you're about to spend money on a replacement part for a fiber cutting machine. The last thing you want is to end up with something that doesn't fit, drops your accuracy, or wears out after a few weeks. I was chatting with a friend who just upgraded his small shop laser cutter, and he was torn between a generic connector he found on a marketplace and the XYNLHCQ nozzle connector for the V2.0 F200 laser head. He asked me to help him figure out whether the extra cost was worth it, so I dug into the specs, scoured the forums, and thought through how this part actually behaves in a day-to-day shop environment. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. First off, let's talk about why a nozzle connector matters more than most people realize. In a fiber laser cutting system, the nozzle is the final conduit that shapes the beam just before it hits the material. If the connector is even a hair off, you can see a drop in cut quality, edge burrs, or inconsistent focus. That's why the connector's tolerance and stability are critical, especially on the V2.0 F200 head, which is popular among medium-sized fabricators because it balances power and precision. The XYNLHCQ part is marketed as delivering excellent performance, high accuracy, and good durability, which sounds like marketing fluff until you see how those claims translate when you're actually cutting 3mm stainless steel or thin aluminum sheets. From the data I could gather, the connector's design matches the original OEM threading and includes a reinforced sealing ring that helps keep the fiber core aligned under pressure. In practical terms, that means you spend less time tweaking the focus after each changeover. I watched a couple of YouTube builds where the creator swapped a worn connector with this XYNLHCQ part, and the laser refocused in under a minute, no fiddling with micrometer adjustments. For a shop that does multiple material changes per day, that time saved adds up quickly. Durability is another angle that's easy to overlook until you're in the middle of a long run. The connector's housing is made from a high-temperature polymer that resists the heat spikes you get when cutting reflective metals. Users on niche forums have reported that after a few hundred passes, the original plastic connectors they were using started to crack, leading to misalignment and, eventually, a costly nozzle replacement. The XYNLHCQ version, by contrast, has a tougher exterior that stayed intact through a 12-hour continuous cut test on a 6mm steel plate. That kind of resilience is the hidden value you don't see on the product page but notice when the machine keeps running without a hiccup. Now, no part is perfect, and there are a couple of trade-offs to keep in mind. The biggest limitation is compatibility. This connector is specifically engineered for the V2.0 F200 head, so if you have a different version, say the version 1.5 or an OEM head from a different manufacturer, this part won't bolt on without adapters, and those adapters can introduce their own alignment issues. If you're not 100% certain about your head model, double-check the laser's serial tag before ordering. Another practical point is installation. The connector clicks into place, but it does require a clean, debris-free mating surface. In a dusty shop, you might need to wipe the fiber tip with a lint-free swab and a bit of isopropyl alcohol before snapping the connector on. Skipping that step can defeat the high accuracy claim, because even a tiny speck can scatter the beam. So who should seriously consider buying this XYNLHCQ connector? If you run a small to medium fabrication shop, a prototyping lab, or you're a serious hobbyist who already owns a V2.0 F200 laser head, this part makes sense. You'll benefit from the stable performance during back-to-back cuts, and the durability means fewer surprise downtimes. It's also a good fit for anyone who's already paying for a high-precision cutter and can't afford to lose that precision because of a cheap, low-tolerance connector. On the flip side, if you're using a different head model, or you only run occasional cuts on a low-power setup, the extra expense may not be justified. A generic connector that matches your head's thread might be sufficient, especially if you're willing to spend a few minutes fine-tuning the focus after each swap. When you look at the price point mid-range compared to OEM replacements but higher than the cheapest off-brand options, you're really paying for the peace of mind that comes from a part engineered to stay aligned under pressure. The stable performance claim isn't just a buzzword. It's reflected in the way the connector maintains its grip on the fiber core, even after the cutter has been running at full power for hours. That translates into consistent cut quality, fewer recuts, and less material waste. In a shop where a single miscut can cost tens of dollars in scrap, that consistency can quickly offset the initial outlay. One final practical consideration: inventory and support. XYNLHCQ seems to ship directly from a dedicated warehouse, and the Amazon listing shows that the product is in stock with